Hackers and hackerettes, welcome to a new video. It's been a while since I did a video, and I found that my videos are actually getting some views and people are kind of liking them. I also got like 2 or 3 subscribers, which is great. So, well, here we are. We're gonna come back with some more videos. I'm gonna be picky about the things that I post about TryHackMe, just because not all of them are practical and not all of them need like videos. So I'll be going over like the most interesting ones in my opinion, and of course if you have any specific ones that you would want to see me through or go through, then let me know in the comments. And thank you to everyone who watched the videos. Thank you to everybody that subscribes, that likes, that comments. I'm just trying to build a community that loves cybersecurity. And yeah, enough blabbing. Let's actually get into it. So in today's video, we'll be talking about XSS, which is cross-site scripting. Essentially, let's just dive right into it. Web applications power most business workflows, and cross-site scripting remains one of the easiest paths for attackers to compromise users. Recent incidents show that XSS is used to steal, or is being used to steal sessions, deliver malware, and escalate attacks within a network or within a network. So essentially, you can use XSS to make sure that I think, at least I think the biggest one is going to be stealing sessions, because if you steal a session, you completely bypass the need to get a username and a password and get a 2FA and everything like that. Like if you can target a logged in user and just grab their session, then you are that user. Of course, more complex systems implement more rules and more safeguards against sessions. So for example, you could also tie a session to an IP address. When that IP address is changed, then you could like invalidate the session. A session could also be tied to a device. So if it's open from a different device, like for example, a different browser or a different like a user agent in general, not necessarily just a browser, but there are some things that are used in tracking, which is a bigger subject right now. Like we call it a fingerprint essentially. So your browser has like a fingerprint. That is the way that is used to identify your device. So a fingerprint could consist of multiple things. For example, the width and height, the types of fonts you have installed on your browser, of course, the type of your browser, the extensions actually on your browser could also help in improving or providing a fingerprint. This is a complicated topic and mostly used for or like used in tracking visitors, that for example Google Ads or something like that used to track their visitors. So yeah, essentially you could tie a session to what is known as a fingerprint or something simpler as an IP or something like that to try and protect against session hijacking. But overall, stealing sessions is one of the easiest ways to actually like get access into an account from a user. Deliver malware, of course, if you can just deliver malware to the users of a specific platform, then you could do like much more dangerous stuff, like stealing saved passwords, stealing cookies. You could even like try to use these devices in a botnet to launch more attacks on more people, and it just becomes a mess. Okay, so prerequisites, learning objectives, all of that good stuff. I am just going to start the lab machine. I'm also going to open WSL, which is my Windows subsystem for Linux. I'm going to type cyber. It's an alias, which gets me into the cyber directory right here. I'm going to go to labs, THM, and then THM VPN. I'm going to connect to OpenVPN that I have for OpenVPN. I am premium, so I'm using like the premium connection. If you don't know these things, then please watch previous videos. I don't want to like waste time of these videos of going through things that we have gone before previously. I am expecting you to be watching the entire series because you don't want to be missing like any context in between. Okay, so let's begin with important terminologies. We'll be covering the most basic. So we have the DOM, or the document object model. The DOM is essentially how you can interact with a page, like a web page, using JavaScript. Okay, we'll be going through that, I believe, more in the practical session. Just here, I want to make sure that I am connected correctly. So I'll just type cyber here to be on the cyber. This is good enough. And then I'm going to copy the IP address of the machine. I'm going to ping it. And we do get ping. Okay, so we are connected successfully. Cool. So URL parameters. The URL parameters or query strings are the bits after the question mark. So for example, in https site.com, and then you have /search, which is called the path, you do have a query string here, which is called q, usually means query, and then hello. So if you look at Google, for example, so I could just type like stuff on Google. If you take a look on Google, you can see that it does have the q param right here. I don't know if that's, I don't think I can zoom that in, but anyway, the q here in the parameter is called a query string, and the q stands for query, and then it is the search param that you do. So you could actually like send a link to Google using a specific search by just giving somebody the link here, and then making q whatever that you want Google to search for. Okay. So they are user controllable, typed in the address bar, or sent by links and forms. So treat their values as untrusted input. Actually, every input is an untrusted input. Do not trust the input from a user at all. The very first thing that you should do as a developer with user input is to implement a sanitization or a validation function. This is non-negotiable. If you trust any input from the user without proper validation and sanitization, you will get hacked. Do not think that because you have a small application, or like you're not a big enough of a target. There are way too many hackers out there that are just bored and looking to do some fun. And if your application is even remotely very far just comes on their list, they will try to hack it. And if you're trusting user input, that's probably one way that they could hack you. So never assume that you're safe, and never trust anybody or like any user input while you're developing stuff. JavaScript, the scripting language that runs inside the browser. We talked about this before multiple times. XSS payloads are usually small JavaScript snippets that run in the victim's page context and can read or modify the DOM, which is the document object model that we talked about right here. Make network requests or access cookies unless protected. We talked about this before as well, using the HTTP only flag, which is actually mentioned here in the cookies section. So HTTP only flag is a flag that prevents JavaScript from reading the cookie. Good. So yeah, that means that HTTP only marks a cookie as non-accessible to JavaScript. Scaping, output encoding, means transforming user data so that the browser treats it as plain text, not code. For example, turning the less than sign into like this ampersand and then LT, which stands for less than. That's what LT is. Opposite of that is the greater than, or GT. So this essentially means that the browser is going to read these and then transform them back into this symbol, but it will be read as the literal symbol and not a part of code. So this script becomes harmless text. Okay, this is one way of doing user validation or sanitization. Which, for example, a payload like that looks alert1 actually gets turned into this, which is safe to be rendered on a web page. Okay. So the question here, what is the URL parameter in the URL? That's text, which is this part right here. Actually, I don't think this is correct. This should have been question mark text equals. And this is not called the URL parameter. I think it's called the path. Anyway, it's the correct answer. But probably the question itself is wrong. I'm not sure. Correct me in the comments if you think I'm mistaken here. But I believe what they meant for this to be is HTTP google.com and then question mark text equals. So that way text would be the URL parameter. But anyway, which is the most renowned scripting language for adding interactivity? There's only one, JavaScript. All right, let's talk about XSS payloads. In the context of XSS, a payload is the JavaScript code an attacker injects into a web application that runs in another user's browser. Yeah. So when a vulnerable website accepts user input, displays are probably filtering it. The browser may interpret the ejected code as part of the web page, blah, blah, blah. This is called a stored XSS. There's also like XSS that you can send to the user, for example, as part of the URL. So there are multiple types of XSS that we will be talking about. So this is the intention. XSS payload usually has two parts, intention and modification. So the intention is what the user or the attacker wants to do. For example, in this case, the intention is to alert XSS, which is harmful but proves a point. And then the modification, every web application handles input differently. Because of this, attackers often need to modify the payload so that it executes correctly in a specific location on the page. For example, if you want to insert a script into like an image tag, you could do that. So sometimes think for example, a comment section on a website, they would block like script tags, but they would allow image tags to be added in the comment. So you could include something like an XSS payload, but through an image tag, not through like a script tag like that. So a common testing payload is the script. If the application is vulnerable, the browser will execute the injected script and display a pop-up message. This confirms that JavaScript can run in the victim's browser. Once this is confirmed, the tester can replace the test payload with a more useful one. Yeah. So like I said, this alert is usually just a test that proves, like a POC or a proof of concept, that proves that the website is actually vulnerable to XSS. Okay. XSS payloads are typically injected into areas of a website that accept and display user input. Search fields, comment sections, profile names, feedback forms, URL parameters, so on. So reflects user input in the URL. Right here, you search for hello. Then that means we could essentially replace hello with a script. And then since it displays the data, then that means we could 100% try an XSS payload here. So session stealing, fetch, and then BTOA, document the cookie. BTOA, if you don't know, is a JavaScript function that is used to do base64. Encodes a string into base64 format. Yeah. So the document, the cookie, is going to be converted into base64. The users or like hackers do that because they don't want to send the entire cookie string as part of the like in this URL, because sometimes they will get malformed and just become weird. By using a like base64 to of like a string, then they will get sent cleanly, and then you can on the back end, like wherever you are intercepting this cookie, you could just convert it back to the regular string, which you would get all the full value of the cookie. So every key passed by the victim is sent to the attacker server. So you can see here, so this is like a key log essentially. So that way you could use that to like log passwords and stuff like that. Business logic attacks, user.change email. So you could try like changing email, stuff like that. So you could do a lot of dangerous stuff with XSS, by the way. Which document property could contain the user's session token? Document.cookie. Which JavaScript method is often used as a proof of concept? Alert. Yeah, alert is just showing a box. I could actually show it to you right here real quick. So if you go to the console here, ignoring all of that, you could write like JavaScript like directly here, and then I could alert, maybe this is better. Yeah. So subscribe, hacker, and there we go. We click enter, and then we execute the subscribe hacker. I should add a comma here so this is actually clear. Now, once you execute this, it's going to give you a return. Alert returns undefined. So you could do something else like hello hacker, And yeah, you get hello hacker here. So you see what the idea of alert here is. Okay. And then we have a reflected XSS, which is non-persistent. Now a reflected is the ones that we've been doing so far, like sending it in the URL, something that is not stored. So reflected is the opposite of stored. And then you have DOM base. We're gonna get into this. So let's talk about reflected first. Reflected XSS occurs when a web app takes user input, such as a query string, and immediately displays it on a page without sanitizing it. Like I said, if you're accepting user input without any modification or validation or sanitization or whatever you want to call it, then you immediately have an attack vector, something that the hackers can use to hack your application. An attacker crafts a malicious link or form that contains JavaScript and convinces a victim to click it. Because the site reflects the attacker's input, the browser runs the injected script in the site's origin. Typical triggers are search boxes, error messages, or any page that echoes parameters from the URL or post body. Okay. So this is a Flask Python page, or like Python Flask application. Flask is a very lightweight framework for Python to run web servers, or like run web applications. So let's actually go through the code here. This is actually a good thing to learn from, because Flask, you can use that to like whip up really quickly websites that you can use for like proof of concepts or to host something like really simple, and it's actually like really good. So from Flask, import Flask request render template and redirect. So Flask here is the like the original library that you import, or like the library that you install, the requirement, and then it has a Flask with a capital F, which is the main class that you use to instantiate the current file, and then add it into the app. Markup save, import escape. So it looks like they are importing escape, which means we could escape like HTML. So this is like a sanitization step. And then from datetime, import datetime, which is this makes me laugh at Python sometimes. Like this is funny. So datetime has a module called datetime, which is funny. So if you don't do that and you just type import datetime, then you have to write datetime.datetime.utc. Now this is sometimes I question like why Python is so popular. I love Python, don't get me wrong, but some things like these just make me laugh so much. Anyway, so let's see here at app context processor. I don't know what this is, but they say it's helper for template footer. We don't care. Inject now, lambda time UTC. Okay, so this is just like typing the footer of the page. Looks like we'll be able to view this page and we'll see this in action. Then we have a use array, which looks like a sub or like a replacement for a database, because yeah, I just store them on an array here. Privacy focused email, top vulnerabilities, a short summary, whatever. Comments is an empty array. Interesting. So it looks like we can be injecting a comment. App route / that means whenever we visit the / route, we're gonna execute this function. So we have a home here. Def is a way to define functions in Python, if you didn't know that. So this is equivalent to the keyword function in PHP. Q equals request to args.get q, or default to empty. So that means q is going to be the q parameter in the URL. Query escaped, escape q. So it looks like the query string here is actually escaped, which is good. And then render template, use query, query escaped. Ooh, so we do send the query itself. Interesting. Okay, then we have a guest book, methods get or post. By default, it only accepts get, but now we define that it accepts both get and post. If the request method is post, then we execute these. Request.form.get comments. Interesting. So the comment here, oh, there's the problem right here. So you can see request.form.get name or default to anonymous. We are escaping the name, but we forgot to escape the comment. This is actually very, very common. So this right here is a way to hack or do an XSS attack using this. Now that we know the thing here, Let's actually do a proof of concept on it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna type Firefox because I'm using Firefox browser on my WSL. So this is gonna open a Firefox window from WSL, and because I have the VPN connected from WSL, I'll be able to connect directly to this IP address. Now, I hope this works because I don't know why this is not working. Failed to get driver for FT. Oh. I had this problem before. The only solution was that I had to restart WSL. Nothing else worked. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if we can restart WSL. No. Oh wait, we have to exit actually from WSL. So this is also. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna restart because I actually have other things running on WSL that I don't want to cancel or shut down right now. So maybe I could give it like another try with sudo. If it doesn't work, then I'll see what we can do. Yeah, looks like it's not working. Okay, anyway. So I think we can just look at the question here. What is the text that's shown here in a hack? So probably we don't need to do that ourselves. What is the response if you use the payload alert test123? That's probably what's gonna appear in the query. So it looks like we were correct. If we look here and then now as a pen tester, I'll dig deeper and paste some interesting code like script. So it looks like, yeah, we did a comment somewhere. Or no, this is a search. Okay, let's look at the search here. Consider the following code snippet. Use Mozilla Firefox on the attack box. Oh yeah, we can use the attack box actually. I forgot about that. If you're connected through the VPN, open a browser and visit the lab. You should see Atlas News webpage at the top. Paste a simple product and then click search. Do we even have the search code in the file here? That was the query. Yes, we do. Okay. In the search box, let's say, do this product. Some interesting code. The hack. This is reflected XSS. The app reads the queue and immediately runs it back into the page. So an attacker controlled in the URL at root cause. In app.py, the handler passes the raw parameter into the template right here. The queue comes from request, which is the source of the untrusted data. So it looks like they are not using the query escaped yet, but somehow it's still in the code. So instead of rendering the queue or the query parameter right here, they should render the query escaped. Now let's talk about persistent. I guess the persistent, we're going to talk about the comments right now because the comments is definitely vulnerable. And it's going to be persistent because the comment will get saved in the database. So this is essentially what a stored XSS is. It's just something that is stored, and everybody that uses the page guestbook is gonna have the XSS executed. You are hacked. This is the value. So yeah, the difference between the stored and the reflected, stored will just be stored forever because right now it's part of the database. And everybody that visits this page will have the payload execute. This is super dangerous, by the way. I don't know I don't think you're probably not old enough to remember MySpace. But MySpace had, I believe, one of the best reflected stored XSS vulnerabilities. Everybody that visited the page of the hacker, I don't remember the details clearly. I should have probably researched before speaking about this, but it just shows how critical XSS could become. Research this, by the way, on your free time. It's actually super funny to read. So now we do have DOM-based XSS occurs when client-side JavaScript reads attacker controllable data from the DOM. URL, location hash, location.search, refer, local storage, etc. All right, say backed into the page and uncertified. So essentially, DOM-based XSS, it depends on where the data is coming from. So reflected comes from somewhere that is like the query parameter or the body of a request. Stored comes from a database or somewhere that is permanent storage. DOM-based comes from somewhere on the DOM, like an attribute on a tag, or a search or a URL, stuff like that. Okay. By the way, URL here is not the same as the reflected, because the URL here is usually a param or like an attribute on a, say for example, an anchor tag, like a link. So it's part of the structure of the HTML itself. So navigate to the use preview page on DOM, manual preview text, and then hacked you again. So right now, paste image. So you can see here that this is an image based XSS. So image source equals X. Now this is of course an invalid source, so automatically on error is gonna get executed. And whenever the on error executed is actually going to be a JavaScript, and then you can just alert hacked you again. So what is the alert hacked you again? Does DOM XSS also occur on the server side? Yay or nay? What do you think? I think nay. Because the DOM XSS only happens on the front end, on the client side. The only one that happens on the server side is, at least usually, it's the stored. Some reflected could also happen on the front, on the back end, if the query or whatever that you are passing in is actually being executed on the back end. Now we do have blind XSS. It's similar to stored, in that your payload gets stored on the website for another user to view, but in this instance you cannot see the payload working or tested against yourself first. So this is what blind usually means. There's also blind SQL injection, and then you have blind XSS, so you don't have a way to test, essentially. How to test for blind XSS? Ensure your payload includes a callback, typically an HTTP request. This way you know if and when your code is being executed. So the way it works is that you, instead of seeing the XSS yourself, you would make the code, like the JavaScript, actually ping you on like a server or a web page or somewhere that you control. And then if you get the ping, then you know that you actually got a an XSS request. I'm gonna demonstrate a real life stuff here. This is a shameless blog of my tool Yoink, but I'm not just marketing this tool, because it's actually free, so I gain nothing. And you can essentially just click on start logging immediately, and you get a link right here. Now any request that is sent to this link is gonna be logged immediately in this page. So look at this. I'm just gonna curl this, and then I'm gonna get a response back, request logged, and then right here you are gonna see this. You're gonna see the IP address. I know my IP address is showing here, but I don't care much because this is not really my IP address. I'm behind the VPN. But essentially, we are in Egypt right now, and we do have a bunch of other information about the request. Okay, it says no body because the request has no body. So you can use this tool like really quickly to get information about any request that is sent to it. Okay, now what I need to do is, I was gonna demonstrate how we can do that using JavaScript. Oh my god, it's humongous. I don't know why it's so big. Anyway, we could do something like fetch, and then essentially when you do a fetch, you do a pending, but then we get a course policy. The course policy essentially means that no request should be made to external URLs from TryHackMe. So TryHackMe is actually like security aware, surprisingly. Just kidding. But essentially it just blocked the request to an external link because of their course policy. course is cross-origin cross-origin request. What's it called? Cross-origin request. Damn it, I forgot. Sharing or cross-origin resource sharing, not request. Sorry. So resource sharing, yeah. So okay, we will not be able to demonstrate this, but it's a shameless plug for Yoink. So feel free to use that. Yoink.michaelyosray.com. Feel free to use that. Wait a sec. We actually got the request. Wait. Can we do clear? Yes, we can do clear. Cool. Let me just do fetch and then let's just send some data. I actually got the request. I didn't think we would get the request. No body, but we did get the request though. Like you can see the origin is TryHackMe. We didn't get a body. I don't know. Did we send it as a header? Does fetch accept like headers and then the data? JavaScript fetch. I actually forgot how to use fetch. It's been so long since I used fetch directly without using Axios. So URL, fetch URL, fetch, and then this is just some configs. So body, yeah, we could define a body here. Okay. So you could just do fetch and then the same link. And then here we could do a body, which is a JavaScript object. And then in here, like data1, data2. And we can click refresh here. Failed to execute fetch on Windows. Method cannot have body. Right, because we can make it a post instead of a get. Just like that. Okay. Oh, we got it. And we got an object. Interesting. Oh, that's probably because we sent it as a literal object here. So what we could do instead is we could do something like this. So like we send it as text, which is what it should be instead of an object. Okay, it looks like we still got the request. I actually don't know why this happened, even though like we tried to access it. It looks like course has blocked it, but somehow it didn't block it. I actually have no idea why this is happening. I should investigate this more. Pretty interesting. But anyway, shameless plug for Yoink. Feel free to use it. It's free. I get nothing from it. The thing that I would get money from though is patchlog. So you don't see it here in the thing, but patchlog is a widget that you can use to put on your websites, where you can essentially just super simply implement a changelog widget that you can use to control what should appear in your widgets. It lives at patchlog.io. I have a bunch of projects that I use myself, actually. I use it on my personal website. I use it on patchlog itself, so we do have some patchception happening in here. So patchlog, patch logs. We'll be using patchlog to let you know about what's new in patchlog using patchlog. So we do have some patchception happening in here. So yeah, feel free to use this. There's a very generous free tier, and you can like get pro for like $7 a month, I believe is what I made it at. And if you need something that is like not this implemented here, just let me know in the comments or like reach out to me and I could just implement this. I'm not really looking to run a SaaS business or anything, although I would love to. But yeah, just Just a little shameless plug in between. Since I have no sponsors, so I said I'm gonna sponsor myself. Okay, so what type of XSS is very similar to blind XSS? It's actually called not reflected. What is the other one? Stored XSS. Yes. Extract the user's cookie uses using netcat and the payload. What is the connection value returned in the netcat output? Connection is keep alive. It's always keep alive. So if you don't know how to do this, instead of using yoink, which is sad, please use yoink if you want. You can start a local listener using netcat. So if you don't know what netcat is a way to just start like a quick server that you can use to listen to stuff. So you can use netcat to like open a server that would listen on whatever port you tell it to listen to. So right here, nc dash or dash nlvp, which is the same thing here, nlvp, or you can just like do it lnvp. Some people like to do that. It doesn't matter. And then nlvp, and then on the port, you want to define what port you want to listen on. You'll see hackers usually use 1337, which looks like leet, like in leet code, or like leet text, or whatever you want to call it. These guys are cool. They're listening on 9001. Anyway, whatever port, and then you do have a server running on this thing. So you could do something like curl http 127.0.0.1 and then on 1337. And once you do that, you can see that you did get a connection right here. Okay. And yeah, so this connection is going to stay open because it's not really an HTTP server. So this will just log the request that comes to it. Use yoink. I think it's much simpler. Okay. So now we have perfecting your payload. The payload is a JavaScript code we want to execute either in another user's browser or as proof of concept to demonstrate a vulnerability on a website. Your payload could have many purposes, displaying a JavaScript alert or doing something more harmful. How your JavaScript payload is reflected in target's web will determine which payload you need to further practice. Access the website here or use this, which will show the following page. The aim for each level will be to execute JavaScript alert function with the string thm like this. Okay. So I think we can just do alert thm like that and then script. Enter. Uh-oh. Let me copy this and then give it a refresh. Oh, there we go. Hello, confirming XSS payload. XSS payload successful. Level 2, cool. So I'm not gonna like cheat here. What flag you received from level 6? Okay. Holy bully. So level 2 here. Let's try the default one. And then we're gonna do that. And then XSS payload failed. So let's actually open inspect. And let's see what gets input here. So hello, and then what the hell? Why is there an input here? Input value. So we might try to escape out of the value here and then just add our script. So my payload becomes like an empty string. And then we could close like the input directly. So that way we can like add HTML here to block this input. And then if I click enter, we get THM, which means it worked. And voila, XSS payload successful. So if you don't understand what I did, my payload is essentially this. And then in this payload, we essentially just blocked off the value here, the string that we had open here. So value looked like this. So I closed it and then closed the input here. Although we still have like extra stuff here, but that's okay. I don't care. Our script got executed. Maybe we could remove this entirely and then we could just enter this. Would that work? No, it does not. Because yeah, you can see here now the input value actually has a unclosed quote here. So when we close that, we don't even need the extra slash, but this works. So yeah, good to go. Let's go to level 3. Let's enter the same payload. And then let's see what happens. And right here, you can see we have a text area. So the text area here is essentially like open and close, and then you put the value in between. So using this, I don't think we'll be able to do just closing text area, which actually might work. Let's see how that works. And it does work. Cool. So we just simply close the text area, and then we did the alert here. So similar to before. Let's do that. Hello, and then empty. Interesting. We have a span. What? Oh, we're using inner HTML. Okay. Okay. Oops, I didn't mean to click enter here. So what's happening here is that we're using actually JavaScript. So document get elements by class name dot inner HTML. So this form right here, it looks like whenever we click on enter, THM button, there should be a listener for this, I assume, somewhere. Ignore below code, it's not challenge related. Okay. So I'm guessing like whatever we put in here gets executed here. So document the get elements by class name, and then the first one, 0, inner HTML, and then we put the script tag right here. Okay, so we need to escape this inner HTML somehow, but we are already inside a like a script tag. So what we could do is essentially close off the inner HTML and then completely close like this thing. We don't care about it. And then we could just say alert THM directly without the script, because we are in a script tag. Does this work? No. Question is why? Interesting. This should work technically. Oh, maybe because of the syntax error, this actually didn't work. So maybe we could do something like that, which we would escape the rest of the text or like comment it out. Does this work? It did. Nice. Super cool. So this becomes the final value of it. Awesome. So because this was causing a syntax error, we could just comment it out. Causing a syntax error here made the entire line not execute at all. So when we comment it out, then our JavaScript became valid. It's actually like 2 different instructions, and we got it to work. Cool. Let's get to level 5 now. I'm just gonna input the last thing, and then this is probably going to be okay. Let's enter actually our very first thing. I'm guessing this is gonna escape it somehow. Okay, the script tag is completely gone. Interesting. Maybe we do the image tag trick. So source equals X, and then on error alert THM, or like let's put it in single quotes here. Maybe this will work. It did. Okay, cool. So it looked like the sanitization here was very weak, that it just stripped out the script tag. But we could like execute JavaScript in many other ways. This is one of them. So nice try, I guess, but not good enough. So enter an image path. Let's enter image path. So this is source, and I think this is very easy. So what we could do is like do this and then on error, and then just say alert THM. I think this is very similar to what we had before, and we can don't think we even need to close this. Let's click enter. Super simple. Literally just the exact same thing as we did before. And then we get our flag here, XSS master. Cool stuff, cool challenge. I love that. In this room, we explored the essential concepts and practical techniques behind the XSS, one of the most common and dangerous vulnerabilities in modern web applications. Began by building a strong foundation, introducing key concepts. We walked through. Finally, we looked at blind XSS. So just a recap of everything that we've done. Check. Boom, boom. We have finished this cool lab. We got a debrief. Let's look at... okay. 27 days straight, and I am only number 11. I have not been doing... people who can open it for free. Oh. Can share it with schools with stuff. That's cool. Full access, no subscription. They can dive in whenever they got time. That's cool. I'm gonna share the link here in the description of this video. So the very first 2 viewers, or the very first 2 people that actually open the link, will get free access to this room so they can practice themselves. So this is like my thank you for watching till this part here. And since this video is already becoming too long, I don't like making videos too long. So in the next video, we're gonna talk about SSRF, which is server-side request forgery, which is super duper cool. This is the opposite of CSRF, which is client-side request forgery. So I'll see you in SSRF. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments below if you like these videos. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. Stay tuned for more of these cool videos. They actually take like a lot from me to make, a lot of time and a lot of like actually mentally, because I don't get any feedback or almost no feedback on these videos. So I'm gonna appreciate like likes, comments, subscribes, all of that cool stuff, you know. And yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure to look for the free links in the description below. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.